for a while I was tracking my ancestry, and so my grandmother actually was immigrated from Mexico during the Civil War back in the early 1900s. My grandfather actually was in Texas before Texas was even a state. So I have some really strong roots in terms of, my family in terms of there in Texas. But going back to as far as my heritage, I think it's really important because you don't really see a lot of people of color in the STEM fields. Typically when I was at the University of Texas, I was one of the few people in my class that was first of all minority and second of all Hispanic. So realizing that we need to have some good role models and those being instructors and also being leaders of academic institutions, I think is really strongly important to send that message to our students. I think what people need to understand, especially students, students of color, is that their diversity is a strength. Every single one of us brings something to the table, and being a strength-based college as South is, I think that kind of enhances that awareness for our students in the sense of they know that they have a set of strengths that they can bring to the table regardless of the situation. So I'm not going to tell them to be colorblind because the world is certainly not that way, but they will bring their strengths to the table and they'll have an opportunity to be successful.
I was born to teenage parents, so just growing up and two kids themselves that were growing up the same time you were was very difficult, and we didn't have much when I was growing up, so their persistence and always having them embed in me that education was so important, and for me to take a different path that they took and working hard to make sure we didn't fall off track. Their dedication really made me want to pursue and continue my education. My dad being the manic Hispanic, it was very interesting growing up with him because he was a radio personality, and a lot of times he didn't live in the same city that we did, so it was cool to have that culture brought to the home. When he was there, music played a big part of our upbringing, especially the huddle music, the old school music. That was always playing in our home because of my dad. I know when I went to college, I was the only Hispanic in my dorm room, or in my dorm. It was difficult to adjust. It was difficult to assimilate because I couldn't relate to anybody there. I didn't know anybody in Tucson. But luckily for me, I found a Hispanic organization or sorority at the University of Arizona. And I think I always say if it wasn't for those group of girls, other Hispanic women that were had the same goals, that came from the same background that I came from, that had similar upbringings, if it wasn't for those women, I probably would have dropped out of the U of A and came back home.
I feel one thing that really helped with persistence, and I know that in my classroom a lot of my students have gone or are going through the same experience that I have gone through, is that I had children at an early age and I was still in college. So if I didn't persist and value education, I would never be where I am today, which is, we're in front of you as a faculty member. So through education and mentorship, one of the greatest gifts that I feel that I received was the eye-opening experience that I was able to be a leader as a young Hispanic male. And for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't think that was available to me. But through mentorship and education, I realized that I belonged at the table just as much as anybody else did. I guess if there's one message I could leave with you guys is to always have pride in who you are. Always love who you are. Always love where you came from, and that's going to take you far. Because when you have pride in yourself, people are going to notice that.
Growing up, I just knew that education was important, and so much to the point for me that my first degree was at Arizona State University. I didn't know that I had a choice. As a child, my parents would, on the weekends for time off and fun things to do, is they would take us down to ASU and walk the campus, and my dad would say, "So you're going to be going to school here. See these buildings? These are going to be part of your home. This is where you'll go." And right away I went off and got my master's degree because I knew that that wasn't enough for me. I really wanted to work in the community, so I became a community health nurse. And what was really difficult for me at that point was I went to school in Cleveland. And coming from a Hispanic family, that was really, really difficult, the only girl in the family. Leaving home, my father was not pleased with that at all. And he said, what can I do to make you stay here in Arizona? Anywhere in Arizona. He tried to bribe me and anything he could. And I said, everything you've done is wonderful. It's appreciative. I said, but now I have to actually learn to suffer. And he didn't understand that. I said, I really just need to stand on my own 2 feet and figure it out on my own. So I went to school in Cleveland and in 2 years received my master's degree. When we were at home, we could live our Hispanic heritage. We could speak Spanish, we could eat the foods we liked, we had family members come over, and some people may not understand that that meant Friday afternoon, cousins would be at the door with grocery bags, and they wouldn't leave until sometimes like early morning, Monday morning. You know, it was just a whole family affair, and I really, truly love those moments.
My parents, my father had a 6th grade education and my mom had a 7th grade education. So nobody could understand the situation I was in when I was in college, and after my freshman year, found myself on academic probation. I'm the youngest of 4, and neither of my siblings went on to college or community college or university. So I would go back to a movie that my children just recently have seen over and over again, and it's the movie Turbo. And in there, there's a dialogue that's very powerful between the NASCAR driver and the snail. And they're having this conversation, and he says, dreams are never too big, and dreamers are never too small. And I think the goal for our generation, for the Latino student, is continue to dream, have those aspirations of going to Princeton, Harvard, Yale, becoming a president or CEO of an organization. Have those dreams. And whether life guides you in a different direction, or you have a different opportunity, or your network is guiding you in a different direction, at least you're still having that dream, and you're voicing that dream so other people can hear, hey, I want to be a CEO, hey, I want to be a president of an organization or a president of a community college, to voice that so that other people that are listening say, you know what, I can help you along to fulfill that dream, I can help you along to accomplish your goals. And I think the more that our students, our young students are coming up in the community college ranks or high school ranks, that they're able to voice that. I want to be the president of the United States one day. We have an African American president. Why not a Latino president of the United States? So I think it's important that our students have that hope, vision, as well as that desire to continue to dream and strive for great things.
Growing up in Buckeye, Dr. Eufemia Amabisca knew early on that she wanted to be a teacher.
As a child, I played school, and my brothers and my little sister were my students. And so I would even give them homework, and my grandmother was like my advocate. She would support me, you know. She was the one that taught me how to read and write in Spanish. And she's the one why we kept our language.
The support of family would be the key to her continuing success.
When I was in high school, there were very few Latinas at the high school where I went, in Buckeye. And I don't ever remember having somebody tell me that I could study again once I got out of high school. I knew I could because my dad, who was the one that empowered me, would tell me, you know, you want to go to college, you go to college. You know, I'll make sure you go to college.
She would go to college and receive a doctorate in education, and go on to mentor students, participate in many organizations, and support many causes like bilingual dual education.
I'm really passionate about what I do professionally, and you know, it really has a fine line because it becomes personal too, you know. And when I see my students sitting in my class, the future teachers behind them, I see them and get excited about a new cadre of people going out there and, you know, being, you know, part of the education system.